there, my friends, and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a game that's played on everybody's favorite, Supreme Isthmus. Now, this match came with a pretty interesting title, so I was pretty intrigued to cover it. I do tend to, at the very least, if I'm going to cover a Supreme Isthmus game, or in all the Glitters games, look for some of the best, so I'm definitely curious exactly what's going to be going on today. Our blue team leader, spawning as the Cortex Commander, goes by the name of Dad_the_Speedrunner. Very cool. Dad the Speedrunner, hailing at 24 open skill and going to be showing us what he's got as a Cortex Commander here in the flex position, playing as the sea lane spot, where usually we either have this commander going into the naval lane over here if they feel like rushing into boats, or playing in this naval cove over here if they feel like going for a more defensive setup. But sometimes we do see cheeky strategies too, maybe see some T2 transitions using the geothermals. We've seen some crazy eco cheeses, a whole bunch of stuff here, so I'm very intrigued by the propositions that the blue commander might put forward. The red commander spawning on the other side of the map, but in exactly the same position as an Armada commander, Will Ramos. Will Ramos going to be playing here in exactly the same spot, the seaplane commander, and it is rare that we get this opportunity to see the blue and red team leaders spawning right up against each other, going to be going up, well, in a certain sort of sense, neck and neck against each other here. Kind of in backline positions, but you get the idea here. Anywho, Supreme Isthmus, it's a map that we all know and love. It's definitely one that we're all familiar with, but in case you're new around here, there's a couple of notable features that I would feel obligated to point out to you. Prominently, right here in the middle of the map, if I activate my superior metal vision, you can see there's a nearly 1,500 metal deposit of rocks and stones right here in the middle of the map. Very, very useful for if ever you are going to be trying to rush out, for instance, a bunch of grunts or pawns on the front line. Oftentimes you can fund that army, that very aggressive expansion, using the reclaim from this. So, no such luck right here. Whoops, hitting all my hotkeys today, mute and disable, all that sort of stuff. Anyways, can you tell I'm a little bit worn down? Today was the Beyond All Reason 10th ever bar fight night. It was super, super cool. It was a wonderful event, and my throat is definitely a little bit shot from it. Crabs galore right here. How often do we take a look at the crabs? Hold on. Crab moment. 1 second for crab moment. There we go. Anyway, crab moment is now over. Thank you for attending the crab moment. Yeah, it was a phenomenal event. Hopefully the VOD for all that gets posted, whatever format they do. That was all casted over on the official Beyond a Reason Twitch. So if you feel like having a little bit of an identity crisis, go ahead and head on over there, where you'll be able to hear my soothing, sultry tones coming at you live on the official Beyond All Reason Twitch channel. It was a blast. It really was. There were some phenomenal games that were played. We got to see some proper high-level games as well as some low-level shenanigans. It really was a treat, so I'm very, very stoked to support that ongoing endeavor. I believe those are happening every Saturday from now on, so feel free to sign up, and sign up fast, because we are changing the way registration works. It'll be closing before the actual live stream begins. Just details here and there for everybody to be aware of. Red team taking command over the entire middle of the map here. Easily by now eating up about half of the metal available on this, and it looks like the blue team is not interested in contesting it. Well, Bob's your uncle, and there's the metal, and it's all in the pockets right here of the brown and tan commanders, both of which sending resbots out here to greedily eat up a whole bunch of this metal, and obviously thrusting them forward, technologically speaking, as both of their pockets are overflowing with potential right now. Love to see that our brown commander here, Vladi, the 4 open skill, 3 chevron hero, right up here on the front lines, has at the very least gone for some more expensive units, trying to put that metal on the field where it can speak for itself. The tank commander Cheese Licker, however, who is spawning in this mid lane position, has not been able to spend that metal here. Yeah, critical build power shortage right now, as we have more than enough energy production and more than enough metal production, and really aren't using that metal very effectively at all. Transporting around some constructors and whatnot is always cool to see. A little bit of teamwork going on, but we do have a nice little run by. Very late into the aggression here, but I feel it's worth mentioning. This is a lower level lobby, so we're being a little lighter on the critiquing today. Taking it very calm and casual right here, as the units don't roll out of the labs and don't make any kind of defense right now for the green or seafoam green commanders. Blitzes headed without any sort of retaliation directly into the tech player's lap. That's the purple commander MNT. Going to be brutally disassembled by a couple of those blitz tanks headed forward. Shuriken, the only thing standing between complete obliteration here. MNT better be thanking their lucky stars, and certainly their Jackie boy, the green commander, up in the sky, keeping their base safe, keeping their mexes online, and keeping their Geo Rush from completely petering out right here. You can imagine if those blitzes had taken down the build power, taken down the constructor, taken down all the rest of this could have been a nightmare. We've run out of APM on the front line here, apparently, as we no longer seem interested in pushing forward. A very far back line agitator has been set up. Okay. Well, you know what? It denies that metal extractor. That metal extractor that genuinely should be the blue team's here. Typically, the way that Supreme Miscellaneous is split is that it's basically these two mechs. Basically, this is the midline here, right? So usually these two metal extractors are the ones that are contested. Usually these are the mexes for the blue team, and these would be the mexes for the red team. However, in this case, I suppose the only thing contesting the mechs right now is going to be that Gauntlet. A couple of medium tanks pop it here as well. Not the end of the world, but obviously, yeah, the Gauntlet's a huge investment to be mostly blocked off right here by this LLT. If you're in this situation, this may be one of the rare situations where dismantling or even degunning your teammates' structures might be well worth it. But we're just going for an agitator crawl. Okay. This is a weird push. It's a weird playstyle. It's a very slow playstyle, but, and I do mean a big but, if you manage to pull it off, it can have significant results. And the way that it works is essentially as a midliner here. What Barty is saying is, hey, I'm not interested in tech, I'm not interested in anything like that. All I really want to do is slowly grow the economy in the backline. A little bit of a pause right there. Slowly grow the economy in the backline while slowly investing on static defense in the front. This is viable. This strategy can work, especially on maps with key choke points, and it's hard to find a map with a better choke point than Supreme Miscellaneous. Truly, this is one of the choke points of all time. But the key critical infrastructure here is that you make sure to reclaim the static defense that's no longer being used, right? So we need to eat up this agitator in order to pay for the next one. And what I think I'd like to see here more than anything from Barty because of that is a metal storage. If we put a metal storage down, then you're going to be able to leapfrog these agitators quite effectively, actually. And it could be an effective strategy. Not a cost-effective one, but certainly an effective one when aggression is this low across the board. Looks like there's been some naval fights at the very least. Someone interested in engaging the enemy right here. Am I feeling a little persnickety today? I am. I sure am. I'm feeling a little bit on edge, right? Maybe it's because I've watched so many pro-level games today. I'm expecting a little bit more out of these players, huh? I apologize for the harsh criticisms. Maybe you can take it on the chin here, and maybe we'll all learn a valuable lesson from it. Anyways. Torpedo launcher shooting itself in the foot somehow. That's a bit of a strange interaction right there from the AI of those torpedo launchers trying to hit the boats off the shore here. Having a difficult time of it. Okay. We are actually going for the agitator leapfrog. Well, it's the leapfrog minus the leaping part, right? So the idea is you dismantle this one, and then you have enough metal to just put another one up on the front line. I like the E-storages here. I think Barty is making a lot of good plays. I know I'm over-analyzing this, but there's not a lot else going on the map right now, so I guess we're just going to continue observing and analyzing this very strange method of playing this. I don't mind this, actually. I think it could work. I think if you had a couple Resbots into the mix here to help reclaim this, there we go. Hey, nice. Barty is on top of it. Gonna reclaim that agitator. Perfect. And start setting up these ones on the front line. I think this could work. I think you can make some value out of this as long as you make sure to continue scaling forward. Maybe there's a more ideal version of this where instead of going straight from agitator to agitator, you throw up a couple of Dragon's Maw, right? You fortify the zone, put up an agitator. Take a step forward, fortify the zone, put up an agitator, right? Keep that crawl going, but making sure that you're reinforced against any kind of push. Essentially, the only reason this isn't contested is because the red team refuses to contest, not necessarily because it's uncontestable. 2 Gauntlets is not really a world-ending, an isthmus-shattering amount of firepower on the front lines, especially once you have those medium tanks up and running. It really is no trouble at all to get those firing away. Shell shockers of here, of course, up here on the front, of course, going to be more than sufficient to blast down the static defense. The heavy laser towers are the biggest, hardest-hitting laser towers available. Both the Cortex and Armada ones are outranged by any of the... Oh, commander sniped over here. Unfortunately, the yellow commander, going a little too hard in the paint right here, loses the commander on blue soil, rapidly depositing a very juicy 1.25 thousand metal directly into the hands of the blue commander. I'm sure is going to be just thrilled about the fact that they get an opportunity to eat up some of that metal and maybe go for a little bit more tech here. Finally, a Gauntlet on the front here is getting some value. It looks like we did eat up that one in the back, so that's good to see. Gauntlets, agitators, all of them. Very expensive, obviously, to field, but once they manage to trade out, they can get their values worth. You can see already here, if we just select these units, this is nearly 2,500, a little more than 2,500 metal worth of units. If the agitators manage to kill half this army, then they have gotten their value. They won't need to, though, because the thugs have stepped forward, and thugs en masse going to be more than sufficient to blast down these HLTs. Man, it's the reason those static defenses are so puny. Typically, against big clusters of units like this, the best static defense to go for is going to be one of those flame turrets or one of those lightning turrets. That's what they're called, lightning turrets. Sounds like a fun frat bros weekend here, right? Anyway, Dolphins coming across the map right here. We do have a submarine to defend. That's actually quite. We have 2 submarines to defend, actually. Not bad. The thing about submarines is they do a huge splash of damage, so that, well, not a splash per se, a huge pointed amount of damage. However, they can only do it when their torpedoes connect. Unfortunately, they don't connect very well against moving targets there. Loads of economy, blasted to smithereens for the powder blue commander, losing it all, and the constructors are idle. Hopefully we do see those rebuilding the economy here so that we can keep the aggression high. The submarine's moving across the map at this point, and the mass gauntlet spam continues forward. I am so hesitant to encourage this kind of play. Outside of very low open skill values, will you ever get an opportunity where you're unharassed enough that this is valid? But Barty's certainly taking a creative approach to contesting the front lines here, and it has netted them a vast control over the front line. Hell, it'll even snag him a commander kill. Just like that, Goat Lover goes down to the dual agitators on the front. My goodness, what a match. Thugs, meanwhile, pushing forward over here on the left-hand side is a bunch of those dark green heavy warbots. Well, light warbots, actually. Start to march forward here against the maces here, also light warbots. Hurling their condensed matter projectiles towards each other, trying to knock each other unconscious. Managing to snipe the Geo here as well. I don't know what words to say. Truly an inspiration to everyone who creeps the static defense here. Yeah, you can see the little fortified zones we're setting up here. More agitators, more heavy laser towers, all of it and some more. Normally I'd be a very harsh critic of it, but how could I when it's been so effective this game? Thugs pushing forward here as well, and the T1 Navy, or the T1 Army rather, collapsing on top of the base right here at Vladi. Losing the main facility, the Navy of the Red Commander trying to come over for an assist. Those destroyers are able to fire away quite a distance. They can start shelling away at a bunch of these troops, and it is doing some decent work. But all said and done, the lab is already killed. The damage has been done. Vladdy does have a T2 lab up and running in the backline here. An interesting positioning on that. 88% of the way through with a Fat Boy right now, but incomplete it will remain. And the Brown Commander does start to de-gun down some of those troops. The silver lining here is that Fat Boy, very expensive to produce, but of course once you happen to start reclaiming some of that metal, it does make it very easy to afford. So there we go. Fat Boy finishes up production right on time for Vladi to think about upgrading his metal extractors. Yeah, we've got the T2 constructor. Might be time that we start thinking about a T2 economy here. One thing that definitely outpaces the power of the agitator is going to be any kind of T2. None specifically, just any amount of T2 will outpace the agitator here. Barty getting shot down by a bunch of Sheldon here, not cloaking the commander. You can hit K to cloak your commander, or hover over this and it should tell you what your hotkey is. Instead, charging headfirst into the problem. For democracy, cries out Barty as he charges headfirst into the ground right here, blasted down by the Sheldon before him. Here we go. Agitator firing away. Dumbfiring into the dark here. There we go. Agitator switching targets ever so briefly. Where has the Fat Boy gone? I swear I saw it shot. Oh, that was a purple Fat Boy. Ah, interesting. Mass Fat Boy coming across the map, apparently. The Red Navy looking stupendous. It is largely consistent of... I was going to say it's largely consistent of frigates, but there's actually a major core of destroyers back there as well. Yeah, 5 destroyers and some more in tow. 6 destroyers total. And those submarines actually don't stand a chance. I thought maybe we could find an efficient trade here killing the frigates, but with so many destroyers on the tail of those submarines, they'll be blasted down near instantaneously. And that's just brutal. Just like that, 1 or 2 good trades and the Red Navy has more than won the battle for the high seas over here on the northern side. Southern side still hotly contested by the blue and yellow commanders, both vying for control here. We do have frigates continuing to roll out of the production bay, and we are seeing them move out across the lab here. A little bit of damage done. Radar tower gets shot down. Always nice to deny vision to your opponent, especially on Navy. If you can chill away at them, but they can't quite hit you, you're in a really good spot. The the rover spam here causing a lot of friendly fire. Of course, the biggest issue with those heavy hitter units, Czar's certainly included in this group as well. They can do quite a bit more damage than you bargained for to your own friendly units. But hey, when they connect with that big ball of units, it definitely makes it all worth it. The Fat Boy with a range of 700, the Sheldon with a range of 850 does mean, of course, that the Sheldon can outkite the Fat Boy if they just continue stepping backwards ever so slightly here. even though I don't think they will have to. And Fat Boy, way too slow to go up against the Sheldon, and with 1 or 2 volleys more, the Fat Boy does indeed go down. Vladi stepping forward. Whoa, Fat Boy just barely missing its shell right there as the Brown Commander deguns down the other Fat Boy that was sent to reinforce on the front lines. Nicely done right there. An excellent defense from the red team. Holding out against this very bizarre frontline push. By the way, Metal Extractor's unclaimed right here by the blue team. Definitely a bit of a bummer. Something to prioritize in case you're ever in this sort of situation. Those 4.3 mexes do not mess around. Nearly double the value of a regular mex. Torpedo bombers trying to harass down this Navy over here. Having a rough time of it. One problem, of course, is that if those torpedoes are dropped above land, just like that, they do collide with the land, and suddenly you find yourself deploying a whole lot of bombs into a whole lot of nothing. There's some micro tricks you can do to get around that, but all said and done, it really does mostly come down to luck. Torpedo bombers focusing down the res subs, I think that's a good idea. Blasting down those res subs to make sure that they can't really reclaim as much of this as possible. Denying that reclaim, very important. Looks like the blue commander in the water has handed off the mexes, deciding to relinquish control of this game and is going to start handing it back. The front lines continually evaporating. Pulsar set up here. I suppose it's one way to deal with the ever-encroaching gauntlet spam, or agitator spam, pardon me. Oh, Fat Boy. Fat Boy getting some juicy connections. Love to see that. This army should be melted by the T2 right here. Let's watch in great glorious detail. And there it goes. Wiped out in an instant. I do like this T2 army comp, though. Hounds plus Sheldon plus Fat Boy does give you a lot of firepower to spare. Definitely well worth it when you're looking for some way to shut down big clusters of T1. If those T1 units build up in mass, sometimes it's really difficult to shut them down. T1 medium tanks are the one that I really think about the most. The torpedo bombers coming out here in mass as well. Fighters, green fighters actually finding a great angle right here. You see how the fighters are parked behind the pink ones? It means they get to fire away for free, so none of the green fighters being traded out right now. Only pink fighters are dying. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, tons of pink fighters going down right there. Outmaneuvered and outplayed by these hero aces up in the sky. Loads of fighter planes going down right there, and the bombers still persist. Very, very nicely done. The trigger is pulled, and it looks like a whole bunch of yellow forces are going to get completely surrounded by the frigates, firing away as best they can. Reinforcing fighters to finally try and clean some of this up. But man, those T1 fighters really don't compare against the T2, do they? Valiants are not bad as far as T1 firepower goes. They're even not bad up against T2, but they're much more of a defensive force. Because, of course, they have that radar signature, it makes them much harder to pull against enemies. It makes it very obvious when you're moving them around, as opposed to something like the Nighthawk, which is a stealth fighter, meaning it does not have any sort of radar presence. With the support of the bombers in the sky, the Yellow Commander forced out of the naval seas. This naval lane now well won by the Blue Commander, who yields complete authority over the southern seabed. The final torpedoes connecting right here, and the very last of any of these units are nicely mopped up right here. Oh, you know what though? The Maroon Commander, apparently having paid attention in Cortex class, knows the hard counter to anything Navy, and it's ducks. Mass ducks always wins against any Navy is the lesson that I've been taught, the lesson that I yearn to pass on to future generations. When in doubt, duck it out. Fusion reactor falls. The Blue Navy still with a little bit of chutzpah left in it, a little bit of fight left, trying to find every opportunity available. Ducks shrugging off the depth charges here. How much damage does that do in total? Looks like maybe 8% damage, I want to say. 8 or 9% damage. Very, very minuscule. Pulsar has done good work of tearing apart this front line. Always lovely to see. Wouldn't mind seeing maybe a spy bot play, or maybe just a good old-fashioned sharpshooter push. Trying to blast down this Pulsar here. Torpedo launchers still continuing to blast away at the ducks. Geothermal is popped. It's not an AGEO though, so that does mean that the... Whoa! Well, perfect timing for that. Didn't hear the nuclear launch detected, but I definitely saw the nuclear launch land. Just like that, the Maroon Commander loses the entire base. 20 minutes into the game, and unfortunately, without an anti-nuke, the Maroon base is toast. In fact, the entire Orange base is also uncovered from nuclear strike. Most of the Brown base is as well. Anti-nuke boat coming up right there for the Red Commander almost immediately. Lovely stuff. We've already got one included with the composition over on the front lines here. But cementing the base with a anti-nuke ship, always very valuable as well. I'm surprised, frankly, to see that we don't have more anti-nukes up and running. The Hot Pink Commander definitely on board. Gets the anti-nuke up as quick as possible. Do we have another missile prepped and charged? We do not. Armada nuclear missiles charge pretty quickly here, but this one is about halfway done. Missile boats firing away at the Geo. Oh no. Nice read right here by the Purple Commander. Hey, look at that. MNT, well aware of the strat here. Oh, unfortunately unable to reclaim it in time, and the AGO does pop. Best bet is to just go ahead and swap out for a Prude as soon as you lose that Northern Sea. It's almost virtually guaranteed that you're going to be shelled away at from the coastline, so you may as well go for that Prude. A lesson that the Purple Commander is learning in earnest right this very moment. T3 lab, 98% of the way done, but unfortunately being reclaimed by the Green Commander because there's no hope of keeping that alive across or amidst the bombardment right here from these offshore torpedo or these offshore missile cruiser boats, the Longbow. Very stylistic boats, always cool to see those. Bulwark has been set up over here. Not quite as long-ranged as the Pulsar is, but very, very capable against bigger swarms of units. Still not perfect, but very capable. We're looking to close the game. Jackie Boy trying to find a way to close out this match right here, sending a massive swarm of bombers down towards the southern side. We've got more and more destroyers and frigates. Boy, did I just combine those two words? Oh my goodness. Brightworks having a strong. Radar planes going across right here. Trying to get some scouting in wherever they can. Fighters colliding up here in the air. Vastly superior fighter numbers right here for the Green Commander. Means that the air battle is well won, and of course, the bombers now have the clear go-ahead to move forward. Do we have any anti-air defense? We do have a flak turret. At the very least, the flak turret is quite nice. Obviously, in a vulnerable position here, right next to the advanced fusion reactor. Not the end of the world, but definitely a little bit heartbreaking. Torpedo boat, or torpedo planes rather, harassing away at the Navy over here on this side, also spying the labs coming up over on that side. But here come the bombers. Just in time for that A fusion to finish. The timing is ridiculously somber for the hot pink, or for the, pardon me, powder pink commander, D Nutria, who loses the entire base to a couple of bombers in the backline. Some more of the red team tapping out of the game at this point. Unfaithful, unbelieving in the forces that are marching forward right now. Platypus swarming their way over and across the way. We do have a, oh, interesting. I see what we've gone for. Oh, this is a cheeky play. We don't see these used all too often. These are naval engineers building Platypus offshore. We hardly ever see that utilized, but that's wonderful. Yeah, Platypus now walking their way up to the high ground here and directly towards the base of the Green Commander, spamming out a bunch of gunships, but frankly, with how much anti-air there is crammed into the Platypus, there's no way that they're going to be able to shut all that down. Boom go the E-converters and chain react into the build power here, denying any future reinforcement from the Green Commander. And with a near-perfect surround right now, suddenly things are looking quite dire for Jackie Boy. Followed up, of course, by the Marauder now rushing into the backline. Do we have any T3 to defend? We well should. Okay, we're halfway done with 2 Aphuses. Why? That's an interesting situation to be in. Halfway done with 2 Aphuses should equal 1 Aphus, right? I mean, I'm no math whiz, but I feel like the math adds up there. Marauder, regardless of the situation going on in the backline here, more than happy to intervene and introduce themselves. They are the T3 Killer of Hopes, Destroyer of Dreams, and they've come to ravage your situation happening in the backline here. Meanwhile, popping the base right now of the Cyan Commander, ruining more and more hopes and dreams left, right, and center. One of them is dissolved right there by the construction units Another one moving forward here. All it has to do is pop those E-converters, and there they go. E-converters chain react into each other, leaving Dad the Speedrunner without any of that energy conversion-based metal economy. Blood is in the water, though. Excellent splits right here. Jazza doing a great job of splitting up the Marauder, making sure that they're doing maximum damage over maximum surface area. Build power pops, denying any sort of health replenishment, and boom goes the advanced fusion reactor. Beautifully done. Chain reaction on the wind turbines. They're spaced out, but they're not. They're spaced out, but they're still too close together. Chain react into oblivion right there as the Marauder ravaged the base of the Blue Commander. My goodness. The time has come, though. We're now in a situation where the Salamanders are ready to rip up to the up the shoreline and into the base of the Red team. This backline being destroyed by those bombers. Not able to really recuperate back here. Salamanders now pushing their way onto the mid-ground here. A resign vote called for the blue team. Dad the Speedrunner, obviously a bit wary of a resign vote as the Salamanders now march forward. The red team losing spirit despite a overwhelming push right here from all of these platypus, taking out so much of the forces on the front and in the back and all over the place. Both of these teams clinging to desperate life. The red team, however, with 194 metal coming in per second. The blue team with just about 100. Little less than that now and there. Platypus certainly ruining that economy. The advanced metal extractor is really telling all the difference right now. Wow. 26 minutes into the game and we're completely back to a stalemate here. Salamanders continuing to try to aggress, the sharpshooters blasting away at them wherever they can. I couldn't tell you who has more of a lead here. Well, it's the red team for sure. At the very least, what they do have is a couple of mexes up and running right here, whereas the blue team essentially has one metal extractor up and running, one advanced metal extractor up and running. The middle of this map, essentially the entire economy of the blue team, and now it's coming under fire. Fat boys slowly making their way downtown. What will you do when they're coming for you? The fat boys, marching towards you. That hardened metal storage has quite a lot of HP here. Very resilient in the face of a Fat Boy barrage. Hook to a spit the Fat Boy. Trying to obliterate that metal storage, trying desperately to kill it. There they go. Finally bringing it down and collapsing the metal economy of the Yellow Commander, who suddenly floats about a bajillion metal up into the air. You can see the red team, all chock full of metal, nobody able to spend it. All the build power has collapsed right now. Trying to figure out how on earth they're gonna close out this game. Frankly speaking, I don't know. Commander snipes seem like the reasonable option to me, but how are you gonna do that without any solid tech base in the backline? Tactical missiles are being used. Looks like, oh, okay. Well, at the very least, we did manage to take out an advanced metal extractor. More platypus coming across the field. Popping the T2 laboratories, popping the build power, popping the labs, and getting a decent surround on the commander here. Galactus in a little bit of trouble. The attack ultimately deflected here, but the follow-up is en route. Man, Platypus really showing their true colors this game. I feel like we hardly ever get to see Platypus at their full strength, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. Coming in at 260 metal, really not a massive upfront investment for a tremendous run-by potential. Really, really nicely done. Fat Boys continuing to groove. Very, very nicely done. When you see Fat Boys in your backline, you know something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. Slowly but surely. I feel like we could have built a Razorback at this point. The red team giving up hope one by one. Watching the red team drop slowly but surely, despite them having the overwhelming economic advantage for the majority of this match. So tragic indeed. It's a lack of scaling and a lack of scouting here, really denying the vision to the red team, convincing them that they've lost this game when in fact they've had the overwhelming advantage. Maybe it's inspiration to never give up, no matter how ridiculous your situation may seem. I talked about it a lot during that live stream, the bar fight X, bar fight 10. And it's essentially the idea that RTS players, we like to do a lot of our thinking outside the game, right? We like to plan and connive and set up these little schemes and plots and ploys, but we're not really so big on setting up those situations in the game, right? Figuring out what to do about the game as it's unfolding. We want to plan, we don't want to improvise. And that's exactly what this is right now. Both teams desperately improving to try and figure out how to yes-and their way into a victory here. Schnellpon not giving up, though. Good on him. Here come round number 1,000,000. The platypus lasering forward. I think the Twin Guard are a wise choice here, but there's just so many of these platypus rocking forward. There's not anything you can do. One by one, the platypus waves are sealing the deal here. I think if we go for air, we can win this game. I see no way that air is shut down here. Fusion reactor pops and chain reacts into a large portion of the build power here. Oh no! The pulsar blast from the bulwark here accidentally blasts down the fusion reactor debris as well. Suddenly the blue team is left without any real land presence. Yeah, no build power available here. The energy economy has collapsed. No massive investment into tidal generators, although we are getting there. It's a little bit slow going, but the tidal generator economy is starting up right here, and I love to see that. This is the first thing that I always go for as soon as I win the seas. Just building about 1 trillion tidal generators, because at 21 tidal speed, they're more efficient than fusion reactors, and that means that building these really isn't that much of a detriment on the economy. You can see the blue economy trying to dump 800 800 energy per second right here out of the 6,000 metal or so stored in his back pocket. All of that because, of course, we need some way to fund everything. Some way to fund all this with energy. Hilarious. As soon as this starts snowballing, this energy production is going to be phenomenal. Until then, though, it's nothing. The tactical nukes. Anti-nukes, oh no, pardon me, not those. The tactical missile launchers firing away now. Hey, danger close nuclear missiles, very nicely done. That lethal payload connecting in a big way right there. Very cool to see. Managing, in fact, to actually shut down quite a few of those. Yeah, this attack could have been quite a bit more dangerous if those missiles hadn't connected. Looks like the blue team taps out of the game. Unwilling to continue the fight here. Handing off the rest of it to Barty, who does continue the production of these tidal generators. Once again, these tidal generators come online, you suddenly have the build power to actually produce things. Until then, though, your economy is going to be drained. If there's one thing that drains energy like nobody's business, it's got to be these plasma deflectors. Probably the greatest gift that the Hot Pink Commander could give to the Cyan right now is destroying the plasma deflector. Capital ship out and running right now. What a battle. I'm gonna go and speed these up because I think these are gonna look really funny. Yeah, look at that. Fat boys marching apace right now. That is hilarious to see. Tiptoeing around left, right, and center here, trying to, yeah, move their big feet as fast as they can. Looks like a big run by over on this side as well, as these platypus are looking for any remaining tech. It's all out in the ocean, though. Everything that remains is out in the ocean, basically for both of these players. Schnellpon just continuing to pump out those, those amphibious units, despite having more than sufficient energy and metal reserves to actually go for some tech here. Capital ship is out, but what value can it really find? The space has been all but ravaged. I think Schnellpon needs to set up a good old-fashioned bot lab and just start expanding out to these metal extractors here, right? Start thinking about a naval play. Start thinking about an air play, right? Forgetting to use aeroplanes is the biggest blunder that I see many commanders make. You can see the economy rapidly snowballing as soon as the energy production skyrockets. No units being produced right here. In fact, this looks like just the dying note of the blue team. Yeah, I want to say this is their last-ditch effort to hold on here, but there's no real action going on. We're just waiting for the death of the team here. And it certainly doesn't feel like they're keeping their guard up and this match should go on any longer. Galactus trying to defend himself. A couple of anti-air turrets, not going to happen though. Torpedo gunships blasting away at the Seafoam Green Commander. The Blue Commander also in trouble as well. Barty, the last remaining commander, and this dying whimper as the blue team finally yields to the weight of the red. Boom goes the Blue Commander in a final last stand. Yeah. A desperation last stand, if you will, as we almost managed to bring this game back, but just barely lost it in the end. Wow. Map almost set back to square zero. Indeed. Very, very nicely done. What a interesting match beyond all reason. I sure hope you guys enjoyed. I think I'm gonna go lay down for a while. I'm so drained after casting that tournament. Sucked the action right out of me after all those back-to-back games. What a phenomenal match. Thanks a ton for watching. I sure hope you're consider liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. I'm gonna go lay down. I hope you have a drink and maybe have a nice relaxing sleep as well, or maybe just enjoy the rest of your day whenever you happen to be watching these videos. I do always appreciate those comments, people letting me know where and when they're tuning in from. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace out, everybody, and have a great one.